All right. Happy NBA Finals, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com, sponsored by our great friends at Window Nation. I am award-losing columnist Mac Engel of Fort Worth Star Telegram. I'm joined by my good friend, award-winning columnist, sports writer, Hair of the Year Club member. That's Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., whose internet is out right now and is adjusted by going to, what are we doing now? How are you making this magic possible, Clarence?
My iPhone. So I can't share this on my socials that I normally do while, I'm getting ready for this podcast.
All right, because the quality doesn't, the video doesn't look quite as good as it does normally. Normally very sharp, like
really?
4 HD.
Candy said I look better. Candy said the video was better.
She's lying to you. She's trying to make you feel good.
I'm just
okay, Clarence, we have waited what feels no less than like a month for the start of these NBA Finals. Now, we'll talk about the Cowboys here in a minute, but clearly the big story, because the Dallas Stars lost in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, is the Dallas Mavericks. They will return to the NBA Finals beginning tonight in Boston. Game 1 of the NBA Finals between the best team in the NBA during the regular season, and that is Clarence's Boston Celtics. They won 64 games during the regular season and then waltzed through a joke of a playoffs because every team they played was missing their best player for at least half of those series. But we're not going to talk about that. Instead, we're going to talk about the biggest surprise in the NBA, and that is the Dallas Mavericks, who went from looking at the play-in round as early as the middle of March, and now all of a sudden they're playing in the NBA Finals. Game 1 tonight in Boston. Clarence, we're not going to ask for a prediction yet because I've been waffling on this one a lot. Of all the years that you have lived in this great market, can you remember a more unlikely run to a championship, or even just a spurt in general, any more than the one that the Mavericks are on right now?
Well, I can think of the Rangers last year. I don't think we saw that coming.
They were in first place all year long. That was surprising because they'd never won a World Series. But
right at the beginning of the season, we didn't see it coming. The way they entered the playoffs, we certainly didn't see it coming. With where they blew the last few games of the season and they blew first place. We didn't see that coming, but yeah, I mean, you had, I'm just not going to let you ever forget it, but you had Jason Kidd fired in March. Let's be honest about this.
Yeah, no, I did. I thought, I really did think, and because let's go back to that date. That was March 5th, and they had gone through a horrible stretch where they were not guarding anybody, and they looked terrible. And it wasn't just me. I'll certainly own it. I'm like, this guy's going to coach his way out of town, because they made all these big trades starting back last February when they went and got Kyrie Irving. They tanked to get a lottery pick who turned into be Derek Lively. And if you look up until the moment they made, even after they made the trades for PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, they were just okay. And to his credit, you got to give him credit. I was wrong. You got to give him credit. After that game on March 5th, they lost to the Pacers at home. You remember the game, right, Clarence?
And we feel like the Pacers are pretty good.
It wasn't like they lost to
the Spurs.
They blew them out twice in about a 10-day span. The Mavericks were on a terrible skid, including in that skid was an embarrassing loss at Boston with all these new players. And Kidd, to his credit,
Boston's pretty good too.
Boston's really good. Clarence, they got blown out, gave up 140 points. And to Kidd's credit, he said, look, give it time. We got chance. Give it time. Yeah. And he was right. That's why he was in it.
Let it gel. Let it marinate, Mac. That's what we said. You got to let it marinate. You got to let the gumbo. You got to let the gumbo marinate.
I spit out 365 opinions a year. My batting average is about 900. Like I'm batting like a solid 980.
Mendoza line.
The hell I am. I'm batting a solid 980. And I was wrong on that one.
You got to let the gumbo marinate. When you put a lot of stuff in the pot, it's not going to be ready immediately.
I will say this in my defense. I was not the only one. There were voices inside the Mavericks organization.
As your mama used to say, if Johnny jumps off a bridge, you gonna jump off the bridge with him?
Well, it depends on who's jumping on the bridge and what's the size of the check. But they did.
No, the Mavericks have made an improbable run. There's no question about that. No one's really saw that coming. But that's the beauty of sports. It's fluid, and opinions change, because what you saw,
right,
things can change. And just like, they're meeting Porzingis. And I remember when the Mavericks initially traded Porzingis before the Kyrie, and we thought Luka and Porzingis would work so well together. And all the thought processes on what Porzingis might be coming out of certainly when he was drafted and getting the new start in Dallas and his size and how he can shoot it from deep and all the other stuff. And certainly the opinions of Kyrie and how that's all changed through the course of this time. It's going to be a great series. It's going to be a great series, and everybody's talking about, I was breaking down the series with Michael Parsons, who's, he has opinions on everything. He said Jrue Holiday on Kyrie is the key for him. Can Drew?
That's an interesting matchup. I mean, you go back to that Porzingis trade because I loved it. I was like, man, when the Mavericks got Porzingis.
So you were wrong on that one too. So
I mean, that was one I really. And the funny part about it, I'm going to give myself some credit here. I remember when I talked to Tim Hardaway Sr. and he had
been wrong a lot about the Mavericks lately as well.
Yeah, but he had said, the original guy that the Mavericks wanted in that trade wasn't Porzingis. They called about Hardaway Jr., which made sense. And then the Knicks said, would you be interested in Porzingis? And the Mavericks said, because by that time Porzingis had let the Knicks know he wasn't going to stay. So the Mavericks made that deal. And remember, at the time he was hurt. And I think everybody loved it because of what he could be, and the idea if he's healthy, he's a beast. And he's proven it now in Boston. Now he's had to change his game. No, he's good.
He's not a beast, but he's a piece. When the Mavericks got him, when the Knicks got him, they thought he was a 1A. Okay.
Yeah, his talent.
He's a 3. He's accepted that he's not the main piece. So it's not like he's proven anything, but he's not the main option. In Dallas, he had to be 1 or 2.
Yeah, those were two alphas. And it clearly wasn't going to work.
But you got to have an alpha game to be an alpha. He's not an alpha. He don't have an alpha game.
Who's that?
Porzingis.
Oh, no. I couldn't hear you. No, you're right. But he thought he did.
Right. That's that problem. And he's changed everybody's changed their outlook on what he is and what he is for a team. He fits in Boston because he's like the 3rd or 4th option. He's not the guy.
Well, and let's go to the other guy.
And a really good one, but he's not the guy in Dallas.
No, not with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown.
1 and 1A here, and that was not fit for him. But so
hang on, hang on. Chandler Parsons, the former Dallas Mavericks, put this out on some podcast. There's so many of them now, but he put it out there. He said, people in Mavericks fans in Dallas Fort Worth do not like Porzingis, and I'm like, and he said he didn't have a good relationship with Luka Doncic, and there was some strain there. There's no doubt about it, but this idea that, and I took exception to that when I'm like, Porzingis, unlike a certain player for the Mavericks who's going to be really unpopular in Boston tonight, Porzingis didn't do anything for Mavericks fans to boo him. Like, he was very complimentary, he was polite, he was nice. This idea that Porzingis is going to come back here and be booed because of his tenure here with the Mavericks, to me, is I'm like, that's ridiculous.
You know what Mavericks fans don't like? Chandler Parsons. Who stole money, who got hurt.
You know what Chandler Parsons did really, really well in his time here?
He got paid.
He was good friends with Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
That's one of the smartest things an NBA player could have done in the last 15 years.
Mavericks fans don't like Chandler Parsons.
And
Mavericks fans don't like Porzingis. Okay,
because he spurned the Mavericks. Okay, let's go on to the other guy right now, real quick. This will be by far and away the second most interesting storyline of these NBA Finals, and that is Kyrie Irving returning to Boston. Now, he has played against Boston and in playoff series before, since he left Boston, when he was a member of the Brooklyn Nets. But as someone who's covered Kyrie a little bit and listened to his press conferences and asked him a few questions, the guy is a hell of a talker. He is the greatest talker. Whatever you want to say, I don't know if any of it's true, but he can talk charmingly, eloquently, brilliantly, captivatingly for hours. But when he goes back to Boston, he's going to get it. And I think as a sports fan, if I'm a Celtics fan, which I'm not, and I never have been, if I'm a Celtics fan, that guy's my main target for how he treated the Celtics in my city if I was there in his 2 years there. Agree or disagree?
It's basketball. He's going to be a target. There's no question. Yes, he didn't allocate himself well, or whatever word I'm trying to say. He didn't show himself well in Boston. But he's already been up there. He talked to the media yesterday, and I'm glad you said that. He talked to the media in Boston. Everybody had a chance to throw their arrows and ask him questions. He fell on the sword. I'm glad you pointed that. He is matured. He owns his stuff. I like what kids say. He's worldly. And so a lot of times, because when you're worldly, you have opinions on a lot of different things, certainly the flat earth stuff and all the other stuff. He is a Renaissance man. He's a earthy person. He's a flower child. He's all of that. I can see him smoking a peace pipe, and there's probably something else in that peace pipe. But anyway,
something else in that pipe.
But I mean, when you do those things, you have lots of thoughts about things, and sometimes people don't like those thoughts and whatever else. And he admitted, that he didn't handle things well. He admitted that, and he acknowledged that. Not that Boston's going to forgive him, not the fans are going to forgive him. They're going to give it to him. But I like, Jay-Z was speaking to the NFL rookies, and he said, you have to learn to evolve. He said, you have to evolve. You cannot be the same. Your thinking has to evolve. Everything you do has to evolve, okay? And I think what we've seen in Kyrie from his time in Cleveland, from his time in Boston, from his time with the Nets, and certainly his time here, he's evolved.
Let me ask you something. Can I put you on the spot here about him?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things that made him really divisive was his time in Brooklyn when he took an anti-vaccination stance.
Yeah.
And you and I have been pretty much on the same page about our stance on the vaccine, which is you should take it. And he was very anti-vaccine, which is really polarizing for some of his proponents and even detractors, because there's a large segment of the fans out there who hated him and then totally supported him on that stance, because it became two things. It became black and white, and it became blue and red. Right. My opinion on that obviously has changed a little bit. And my view of Kyrie has been, he kind of reminds me of a guy who read a book and he believed all of it. And then as he got older,
you talking Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, no, Aaron makes me sick. But with Kyrie, he reminds me of the guy who read that book and wants to share his knowledge with everybody because he believed all of it. And then the older he gets, he's like, well, I've read some other books and I'm not sure that one was dead on. Maybe I shouldn't have believed that one. But for you personally, how do you sort of rationalize that? Because your support, I like the guy. I've certainly changed my view of him. But when it comes to that one, and I'm not talking about the documentary support. I'm talking
about. I hear you, and I was staunchly on the side of the vaccines because I know what it meant to the community. I know what it meant to people, and as a leader in the community, and it was debilitating, certainly for the Black community. Yep. So I respect his position. I disagreed. I vehemently disagreed. I talked about it. I disagreed with his flat earth stuff, but certainly I disagreed with his stance on the vaccine. And I understand how people say, I'm going to come around to that. The bottom line is, and it's just like we go down this whole rabbit hole with Fauci and everybody else. The goal was to, in a pandemic, is to do best by everybody, best practices for everybody. There's no one knew what was going to work or whatever else, but it's about best practices for the entire nation, for everybody, for the community. What's going to be best? And whether you, with no research, can doubt guys who do this for a living, I have a problem with that. That's our problem with everybody who's act like they know more than Fauci. You don't know more than Fauci, and that doesn't mean Fauci's infallible.
No, you're right.
But at least
I agree with you.
His number one goal is to save the nation and save lives and whatever else. That was the intent, and they admit that everything didn't go right, but they still saved lives what they were doing. So yeah, I haven't had a problem with that and still have a problem with that.
I had, I'll tell you this little anecdote and we'll go to break. I came across this clip between. I'm not necessarily a Joe Rogan guy. I'm not anti-Joe Rogan, but I'm not really. It just doesn't really appeal to me. So he was obviously very anti-vaccine and stuff like that. So he has the comedian Bill Burr, who's pretty conservative, but no, he goes right and left. He'll make fun of anybody. And he says, let's talk about the vaccine. And Bill Burr cuts him off. He says, hey, listen, we're not going to have this conversation. He said, I'm not going to sit here without a medical degree and have this conversation with you who doesn't have a medical degree, and you're sitting in front of an American flag. I thought, that says everything I need to know. I'm not going to go to Kyrie Irving or somebody else who isn't a doctor for medical advice. I'm going to go to a doctor. Okay, we're on the same page. This has gone too long. Candy, wake up. I know we've bored you to death. Let's hear from our good friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, thank you very much, Window Nation. Clarence, I'm going to give you a choice. We can talk Dallas Cowboys minicamp, or we can talk about the one guy we haven't talked about yet in these NBA Finals, and that's one of the best players in the world, Luka Doncic. You pick.
Let's go with Luka first. There's no problem with
Luka
that.
Doncic. Okay.
Luka Doncic and you got Luka for president, and my nickname is Lukai. Okay, Lukai. It's remember Brad? What was it? With Angelo Jolie and Brad? What were those?
Bradgelina.
Bradgelina and what do we call Taylor Swift and do we have a nickname for Taylor?
Yeah, they have. There's Candy. What's the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift combo? I can't remember what it is. But yeah, there was and there's a J-Lo Ben Affleck one, right?
Yeah.
That's usually, well, that's divorced, but we don't need to get into that one.
I mean, they had one the first time.
Yes,
the
first time.
That's right. That one the first time.
Was it Benifer? Benifer was one.
Benifer, right.
That was it.
Right. So
Lukai is a good one.
It's really about Lukai. We've talked about Kai. He's going to be an X factor. But Luka, this is Luka's moment.
So this
the nickname is Trailer.
Trailer. Very good. I don't think I knew that one. Thank you, Kenny. We appreciate the pop culture update. This has come out some. And I'm telling you, this one part of this debate we are missing is that this is a matchup, and they're not going to guard each other. 2 of the top 5 players in the world, and Jason Tatum for the Celtics, who will be on Team USA this summer, and Luka Doncic, who's going to play like 8 million games by the end of the summer because he intends to play for Slovenia and they're a bid to get in the Olympics.
If his knee is okay, if his health is okay,
he's going to play. For those Euros, dude, I'm telling you, those Euros will die to play for their country in big-time international games. Dirk was the same way. So speaking of Dirk, Jason Kidd has said it, Mark Cuban has said it, and now we can talk about it. If the Mavericks win this series, is Luka Doncic the best Maverick ever?
Well, if he's not the best ever, he's en route to be. And there's no question about that. I mean, he's en route to be one of the best players ever in NBA history. You look at his numbers, how they line up at what he's done at 25 compared to what the greats of the game have done at 25. Yeah, that's an inevitable train. If it ain't happened, it's gonna happen. Whether it's this year or next year, that's you cannot stop this. I used to always like that the sounds of inevitability. Okay, it's the sounds of what movie was that with? The
only thing I can think of that's inevitable was the Marvel movie where Thanos said, "I am inevitable."
No, it was the.
Can he help us out here? We need more of pop culture.
It was
both of us are getting old and our memories. I know what you're talking about, and the only thing I think that can
because they had like a couple of them, and Lawrence Fishburne was in there. He was like. It's the one with Lawrence Fishburne and
what
was like
Boys in the Hood.
Oh my God! I'm
gonna
beat you up, man. It's not Boys in the Hood. Like, and the messed up thing about it is because I'm on my computer, I'm on my phone, not my computer. I
can't know your Wi-Fi.
I would look it up. Anyway, the sounds of inevitability. The bottom line is this is inevitable. You cannot stop it. Okay,
there's one thing that's going to stop it.
There's nothing that can stop. Whether it's this year, next year, he's the best ever for the Mavericks.
The only thing that could stop this, he is. And we saw in about a second or third year, we're like, whoa, this guy might be better than Dirk. And clearly, and granted, his upbringing and his training for this was a lot different than Dirk's. And Dirk's was pretty advanced, but no, Luka was tapped as the prodigy when he was young. And he was groomed to be it, and he was a pro at a really young age. And not only was he a pro at a really young age, he was dominating grown men as a teenager, like kicking their ass.
Yeah, champions. I mean, somebody showed a video on, I saw a video on Twitter yesterday, today, about when he was 16. They were talking about the crowds in Boston, and it was in some EuroLeague final, and the crowds over there, and the hate and the hostile environment he had to play in, and he started. I mean, you know, this is that's why this doesn't faze him. That's why he plays so well on the road. He's faced hostile crowd, and I love the American college basketball, but the hostile crowds in Cameron Indoor is nothing like the hostile crowds that he dealt with.
No, there's only, I think, I have a buddy of mine. He grew up in Lithuania, and he played in some of those sometimes. And he said, you just can't, like, unless you're from it or you were living in it, you can't understand just how intense those games are. And really, in the United States, there might be 5 college atmospheres like some of those that they see over there. And not that they saw them on a nightly basis, but Luka was exposed to that. So game 5 in Minnesota or game 1 in Boston, it really doesn't faze him. And the only thing that I think that would potentially derail this ascension and eventually placement is injury. And, you know, he gets banged up. And if he keeps falling down and he keeps hitting the deck's going to win. But other than that, no, he's the best player. And I think this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I think Mavericks fans, and I throw myself into this, maybe got a little snowed on this, and we might be missing just how good Boston is. And we forget Boston won 64 games. And I think even had all those teams that they played in the playoffs been healthy, had Miami had Jimmy Butler, had Cleveland had Donovan Mitchell for all 7 games, and Indiana had Tyrese Halliburton, Boston was going to win those series. They were. I thought the only team that could beat Boston this year was Denver, and Denver got knocked out in the second round. The only thing that I think what really gives the Mavericks a chance right now, and it's more than just a chance, I don't think there's anybody who can stop Luka Doncic. And it's just going to come down to, can PJ Washington score 20 points? Can Derek Lively get 11 rebounds? Can Kyrie go off every now and then? And then I think they can win it.
Well, Drake has bet $500,000 on the Mavericks. Just want to let you know.
How much is Matrix, Mac?
Champagne Poppy is on the Mavericks side, which is not good for us, okay?
It's not, you're right. Has he had a song yet? Has he put anything out against Kendrick Lamar about this?
No, he's taking his L. Bet Online has Kyrie the favorite for MVP. So a lot of people are on the Mavericks in this series. And I think, they're sleeping on Boston just a little bit because of, you talked about, their easy road, and Boston's knocked on the door before, never been able to get over the hump. And they do have those games where they just disappear. I mean, Indiana should have won at least 2 games. They should have won game 1. Okay, they should have won game 3.
They should have won 1 and 3.
Yeah, they should have won 2 games, in that series. And so there's something to miss. I do like the fact that I think that Boston does not have a rim protector like Minnesota did. So I think Luka and Kai are going to have free reign to the basket. They're going to get in the lane and make some things happen for, so I think that's their advantage. But Boston has shooters all over the court. Yep. It won't be a situation like Minnesota, where Minnesota, you didn't have to guard Rudy down low. I mean, they could put Luka on a 7-2 guy because he was not even an offensive threat. Boston, everybody on the court can shoot threes, including, there's a Horford at center, and so, you don't have to guard everybody with Boston.
Okay, we're going to move away from the NBA Finals and briefly talk about the Dallas Cowboys, which just concluded its spring/summer minicamp. And this will be their last time together until they break for training camp at the end of July in Oxnard. Clarence, you've got a good headline here. Mike Zimmer, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, refuses to talk to Micah Parsons. Question mark. Okay, you got me. You got a buyer. I'm going to buy that house. Tell me why the Dallas Cowboys defensive. Oh no, Clarence is gone.
Can you hear me?
Oh, no.
Somebody
now
tried
you're
to
back.
call me.
Thank you, God. He's back.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. So why is Mike
Frozen.
Zimmer not talking to his best defensive
Can you
player?
hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Okay, Clarence is deaf, which I bet now he's
trying to
out.
call me.
Are you here?
Goodness gracious.
Okay, now he's playing around with this. Sorry, folks. So this is
I
why.
have no sound.
Okay, well, here, Candy, don't worry about it. I'll wait for him. So Clarence wrote this. Every time we have one of these Window Nation Dallas Cowboys overtime things, Clarence gives us the topics, and Clarence is back. Nope, he's not back. Now he is back. Are you back? Nope. So anyways, so the Dallas Cowboys hired Mike Zimmer, the longtime defensive coordinator for the team, many, many years ago to come back here in his late 60s to resurrect what Dan Quinn, who apparently was a terrible defensive coach, who's now the head coach of the Washington Commanders, although he preferred to call it the Washington Redskins. So now the big challenge is, what are they going to do with their best defensive player, who is the wonder kid, prodigy, Micah Parsons? Are you here?
I'm here. Somebody, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Somebody's just been blowing me up trying to call, and then I couldn't.
Can't criticize. That's happened to me.
Huh?
I can't criticize. That's happened to me.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to the point, we were talking about.
Wait, time out, because I was talking a lot. I was trying to fill in before you came
Yeah, but
back.
you don't know what you're talking about because you weren't out there.
I was trying to set you up.
Or you was
Listen,
filibustering.
listen with the ears, not your mouth. Why is Micah
Filibustering.
Parsons not talking to Mike Zimmer?
Interesting. We don't know, but Michael Parsons has not been out there. And he finally shows up this week. And Zimmer's a hard-nosed guy, but it was Michael Parsons who volunteered the fact that he ain't said but 20. Zimmer ain't said but 20 words to him. And that's
how many of them began with the letter F?
It's nothing. Michael Parsons. Zimmer's a quiet guy. I haven't talked to him much. I think that's on purpose by Zimmer. That's on purpose by Zimmer. You haven't been out here. You ain't don't know my scheme. Go where he talked a lot with Paul Gunther and he talked a lot with Greg Ellis, but he's not talking with the defense coordinator, and that's different because Michael Parsons and Dan Quinn were like this, okay? Yep. And then he put him like father figure, all that other stuff. Zimmer's coming in, old school guy, old school approach. He's a dog cussing, old school, hard nosed, disciplinarian type guy.
Do you think that'll work, Clarence?
I think it'll work. No, I think it'll work, but Zimmer's hazing him right now. He's testing him. He's just trying to figure him out. And certainly, again, Bill Parcells worked with Lawrence Taylor and famously let Lawrence Taylor get away with a lot. And he's as hard-nosed as they come. Yep. And at the end of the day, they're going to work with Michael Parsons because he's a great player. But that's part of this whole growth process, and a part of the process that Zimmer's coming in. He wants things done his way, and he's just not going to come in and kiss your butt. And hey, I'm glad you're back. And let's sit down. You work with the assistant coach, and I'll get with you.
So Clarence, you talked about this last week or the week before, and I thought it was a good observation. And it leads us into the next topic, which is Michael Parsons is a great player, and you and I have covered lots of great players. But just because you're a great player and you say you want to set all these standards, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a great leader. And the Cowboys, one of the reasons why they believe in Dak Prescott so much is that he walks what he talks. If he's going to say, we need to go out and do this, then he's going to be the guy front and center to try to go out and do it. Even if the results aren't what you want, like the playoff loss to the Packers. From an example standpoint, from a professional standpoint, from a work standpoint, he walks it. And you mentioned it, this offseason, Dak Prescott is setting the perfect example for the Cowboys, which is great. And I don't think Cowboys fans care anymore about that. They just want playoff wins. But do you think Micah Parsons sees that at all? Or he's still just too young and talented to know kind of what he needs to do in order to be both a great player and a great leader?
To me, sometimes leadership is like chemistry, is like brotherhood, and all these key words that we say. Do you need great leaders to be a championship team? And we can talk all day about that. Do you need your great players to be leaders? Do you need to have chemistry? Does everybody have to like each other to be a championship team? Okay.
And they have to recognize they need each other.
They do. And that's one, and we can get further. We can go hold down a rabbit hole with this. But I would say this: I don't think Lawrence Taylor was a great leader.
Neither do I.
He was a great player, but he was not yet. You had a lot of guys on that defense up
Carl
there.
Banks, Harry Carson,
yes,
Jim Burt.
I don't think Lawrence
Phil
Taylor was a leader,
Simms.
but he's a great player. Okay,
Yep.
So if Michael Parsons is Lawrence Taylor, we're not mad. Okay, I don't think that. What's your guy in Denver that's in Buffalo now? Again from DeSoto, a defensive end.
Oh, Von Miller.
I don't think Von Miller was a great leader.
Neither do I.
Okay, great player though.
No, you know what? Time out. I'm curious. What is it? Now I know he's an Aggie, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that. What is it about Von Miller that makes you say? I mean,
he was in the program. He had a lot of. He was suspended. He had a lot of things. He has a lot of off the court stuff. I mean, he's not. DeMarcus Ware came and taught him how to be a leader, or taught. Actually, DeMarcus Ware was a role model for him. But I don't think he's proven himself. And look at that's the leader. That's the guy we're following. That's all I'm saying. And so. I don't know if Michael Parsons has to be that. He just has to be great on the field. You do have guys like Dak. You have guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. You do have leaders that can show the young guys the way. Certainly, you want all your great players to be the greatest of leaders, but that's poppycock. That's
no. I think there's something.
That's the stuff of Disney. But one thing that Dak talked about, and the reason Mike McCarthy brought up Dak in his great offseason was a question was asked about the environment of the team and how can you get prepared for a season when all the coaching staffs on 1-year deals, there's 29 players on 1-year deals, including your quarterback who has, and your receiver, and you got all this stuff, this elephant in the room hanging over everybody's head, because there's no commitment beyond next year. And how can you focus and get ready for a season when there's so much uncertainty about the future? And he said, look at Dak Prescott. This guy's been here every day. He's having the best offense he had. He focuses on football. And that's what we are. That's what the coaches are doing. That's what everybody's doing. They're focused on. That's what leadership is. That's what you want. And they got this, last summer, Dak took the receivers to Atlanta and to Georgia to meet with some military professionals about focus and about different things and
not the Cheetah Club? Not the Cheetah Club?
There wasn't the Cheetah Club, no. And I can't. It's called CO2, something like that. And they're here this week, and Mike McCarthy brought them in to talk to the team. And Dak said, they spoke on Tuesday or Wednesday about accountability and holding people accountable. So I don't have to like you. But I can hold you accountable, and you're going to respect that.
Yep. And
that's something that, and he says, he's told Michael Parsons, I want you here. You should be here.
You should.
Okay? I believe you're going to get ready, and I believe you're going to be in shape, but you should be here. I've told Michael that. So, that's part of that thing that they're trying to do. You said it best. Cowboy fans don't care. I've seen some of the comments. We said this every offseason. They're working hard. He's doing this. What are they going to do in pro season? And that's where they are with the Cowboys. But you have to get to January.
Yep.
And the Cowboys and Dak are trying to do the right things to get to January because they do, on paper, have a lesser talented squad.
They do. And here's kind of my rub with it. And I think Des Bryant had kind of he brought some of this on himself, which is, don't tell me you're going to do this, this, and this, and then 2 weeks in, don't do it. Everything I'd heard about Des, he fought that. It was tough. He just couldn't make himself do it in the off season. And the reality of it is, Clarence, those guys don't have to be there that much. They just don't. From the time the season ends, so in this case, the Cowboys season ended, I don't know, January 15th to really July 25th. I think total, it's just a couple weeks. And you can't make time to be there for what are glorified couple days in minicamp and a few OTAs. Like, you can't do that. Like, where is this? You're taking it for granted.
Well, it's longer than a couple of weeks. I mean,
but it's not much.
It starts. The off-season program starts in April. You got 3
Clarence,
weeks
I'm
off-season
talking
program.
about if you combine every day together, it's not much.
Okay, it's about 6 weeks. It's 3 or 4 days.
I think you're being a little liberal.
It's 3 or 4 days a week for about 6 weeks.
Okay, so if you have to do that, and you're one of the big dogs on that team, and you're going to be paid like the big dog on the team, then set the standard. set the standard. And I understand the part about Lawrence Taylor, and Lawrence had his demons, and you're going to make exceptions. And he knew it from a young age when he was either at North Carolina and then he's killing with the Giants. This happens to a lot of guys, special guys. And Mike is in that sort of rare category. But if you're going to do that, if you want to be that, then go do that, because you might even get more out of it than you already are. Like, he's already here. He might get to there. And I just see some of those guys sometimes, they take their God-given talent and ability for granted.
Well, I don't think I'm pushing back on, because there's a when you say take it for granted, it means he's not working. And there's
he's working.
No one's disputing him being in shape. And no one's disputing he's been in the best condition he can. Now, people that don't show up and don't work, that's what you're talking about. You take your God-given ability for granted, and you're not maximizing. Mike is maximizing his ability. I mean, I'm pushing back on the idea that he's not maximizing and not trying to maximize.
I think there's just
an
opportunity.
Now, well,
there's an opportunity.
Theoretically, the thing that you get when you're with the team is being with the team.
Yes.
Okay. It's not necessarily about making you a better football player. It's just about bonding with your teammates.
I agree.
And so you get that in training camp, and he was there for minicamp. Okay. So he's there for minicamp. He missed the offseason program. Minicamp is the only thing that's mandatory. Okay. Everything else is voluntary. So he's there for minicamp. And so you have time for that. But the issue is, don't say, I want to be a leader. Don't say that I'm going to change the culture. Yep. Don't say I want guys to lock in and don't show up.
Amen. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, last thing I want to bring up, we didn't talk about it, but a big thing happened in the NFL this week. The Dallas Cowboys keep waiting for other contracts to be given to top-tier players, because that's going to give them a better idea of what they need to pay their top-tier players. So I'm paraphrasing Jerry Jones's words. While they're looking down the barrel of giving CeeDee Lamb a big contract, the Minnesota Vikings go out this week and give Justin Jefferson an extended deal worth $8.3 billion. Clarence, I have given up on the Cowboys ever taking the lead on this to try to get it done early to avoid those big numbers. And the only reason I think of is why is they don't do it is because they don't have to, and there are really no consequences to it. When in fact there are. Will they ever change this very slow-mo approach to giving their guys big extensions before the other guy gets theirs and resets the market?
Well, I would say this, and listen, I've been critical of the Cowboys, how they handle Dak's contract, and you want to get ahead of the curve and certainly get ahead of the market, but it takes two to tango. And I know for certain CeeDee wasn't signing until Jefferson signed.
So that's his agent just waiting?
Yeah, because they knew, as much as the Cowboys would have liked to, if they would have liked to do that, they couldn't do that because CeeDee was waiting. They were waiting for that.
Was Justin waiting on CeeDee?
Well, Justin got offered last year, and the Cowboys he got offered last year and turned down contract last year. That would have made him high. And I think he got turned down a contract for 30 last year, so he got a 35. So, it's like Micah. Micah said, I'm not, the beautiful thing about Micah is he's in line for a contract too, okay? And he said, I have no problem waiting, because as long as I wait, the money's going up and up and up. So sign Dak, sign CeeDee, let another defensive player sign. Whenever he signs, he's going to be the highest non-quarterback in NFL history. We know that. CeeDee was waiting on Jefferson, just like Jamar Chase is waiting on CeeDee and Jefferson to sign. That's the game. And there's really nothing the Cowboys could do about it at this point. And, my issue, again, they should have got Dak done. Because when they signed Dak 4 years ago to a 4-year contract for $160 with a $59 million cap hit in the 4th year, it was done with the intent to address it before that $59 million cap hit. Okay, before you got to the 4th year, that was the intent, because you were never going to let him play on that $59 million cap hit. So you were going to address the contract, and now we're here, and they did not do it. And so everything else, the dominoes are falling right behind you. Talking about, I don't have cap space to do this. You do what you said you were going to do. Do what your intent was going to do. If Dak played up to the standards you thought he was going to play and lived up to that contract, he's had regardless of the playoff success, he had his best year last year, led the NFL in touchdown passes, finished second NFL MVP balloting for the first time. Probably the Cowboys finished that high since Emmitt Smith won it in 1995. You know, if you go back and just look at it, get it done. And they haven't gotten it done. And now you got Dak and you got CeeDee going into this, going to training camp with this hanging over the head, and Michael sitting down there waiting with his hands out.
Okay. Last thing. Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics, NBA Finals. Let's get these predictions on the record. You go first.
Rooting for the home team. Rooting for the home team. Going with the home team. Going with Lukai.
Lukai,
the best backcourt in NBA history, will bring it home.
Okay, so Lukai
I didn't say the best. I didn't say the best scoring tandem. I said the best backcourt.
Okay, Lukai in what? 4, 5, 6, or 7?
6.
Dallas in 6 says Clarence Hill. I hate to say this. I'm going Boston in 6.
You're a hater.
I'm not a hater. I hope I'm
wrong. You're just trying to make your Porzingis
better, but I hope I'm
look
wrong.
good.
All right, Candy, thanks a lot for sticking with us. Thank you, Window Nation, for all of your Mavericks NBA Finals coverage needs and Dallas Cowboys wasted time on contract coverage needs. Be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Thanks, Clarence. See you guys next week.